Direct you lot. I'm seeing it everywhere now. Another armchair economist on Twitter going AI bubble this, AI bubble that, like they've cracked some secret code nobody else can see. Well, sit down, shut up, and listen. Because I'm going to show you exactly why your entire life already depends on this stuff. Why it's not a bubble. And why if someone pulled plug tomorrow, you probably won't last a fucking weekend. So let's get this out of our system straight away. Every time something new comes along and big money starts pouring in, some genius pops up and screams bubble like the Warren fucking Buffet having a vision. They did it with computers. Genuinely. People in suits went on telly in 1995 and said personal computers were a fad. A fad! Now even your nana's an iPad. So that prediction is like milk in a microwave. They did it with internet. Remember pets.com? Of course you do, because it's always pets.com. One shite website selling dog food at a loss becomes every armchair analyst proof that an entire technology is worthless. Meanwhile, Amazon survived that exact same crash and is now worth more than most countries. Google survived it. Old backbone, a fibre optic cable that got laid during that so-called bubble. 80 million miles of it across America alone. 85 to 95% of it sat unused after everything went tits up. Dark fibre they called it. And guess what happened? Demand caught up. Every single Netflix stream, every Zoom call, every TikTok your kid wastes 6 hours on runs through infrastructure that were built during a period everyone now calls a catastrophic failure. So now here we are again. AI is apparently a bubble because some startups are overvalued and Jensen Huang owns too many leather jackets. But here's what's different this time. This is important, so pay attention. During dot-com bubble, most companies screaming about revolution had zero revenue. Literally not. They were burning cash like it were a competitive sport. Today, Nvidia pulled over $130 billion in revenue for fiscal 2025. Microsoft's Azure cloud service, which is heavily AI focused, grew 39% year on year to an $86 billion run rate. These aren't PowerPoint promises from blokes in turtlenecks. These are real products generating real brass from real customers who are paying because this stuff actually works. And it's not just tech companies throwing cash around for a laugh. Amazon's committed roughly $100 billion in capital expenditure for 2025. Microsoft $80 billion. Alphabet $185 billion. Meta around $65 billion. That's not venture capital YOLO money from 19-year-olds in San Francisco. That's balance sheet decisions from companies that print money every quarter and have decided AI is existential to their future. You can call it reckless if you want, but these are businesses that have survived dot-com bubble, survived 2008, and came out bigger every time. They're not gambling, they're building, and there's a massive fucking difference. Now here's where most people's eyes glaze over because they don't want to think about it. In September 2024, UK government officially designated data centres as critical national infrastructure. It's not buzzword, that's legal classification. Same status as energy, water, emergency services. Peter Kyle, Technology Secretary, stood up and said it. Parliament record, hands up, done. And they didn't do it for a laugh. They did it because data centres now sit underneath virtually every system you interact with daily. Your banking app, your NHS records, GPS on your phone telling you where the nearest Greggs is, supply chain systems keeping food on supermarket shelves, all use fucking data centres. An uncomfortable truth you probably don't want to hear, but you need to hear is, imagine tomorrow morning, data centres go dark. All of them. I don't care how. Cyber attack, solar flare, act to God, don't matter. What happens? First thing, your bank stops working. Not just your app, everything. Card payments gone, contactless gone, online transfers gone, ATMs are done. You've got whatever notes and coins are in your pocket and that's your lot. July 2024, Worldline payment system went down for just over an hour. And Sainsbury's, M&S and Asda all couldn't make card payments simultaneously. 1 hour, one provider, multiple supermarkets crippled. Now imagine that permanently. Second thing, NHS goes blind. 91% of secondary care trusts in England now run on electronic patient records. Government's pushing for 100% by March next year. Up and Safely, which joins up health records of over 58 million people in England, runs its software inside data centres at biggest EPR providers. That's GP records for entire population of England, stored and processed digitally. No data centers, no records. No records, no allergy information, no medication history, no surgical notes, no treatment plans. Clinicians are operating blind on patients they've never met. People die. Not hypothetically, actually die. Third, supermarket shelves empty within days. UK supermarkets run just-in-time supply chains. Which magazine documented that most supply chains carry around 4 weeks of stock total, but for fresh products it can be as little as 24 hours worth. Supermarkets themselves store barely oat beyond what you see on shelves. Nature Food, which is a proper academic journal, not some blog, confirmed that JIT retail ordering runs on algorithms from electronic point-of-sale systems, with orders placed and fulfilled within 24 hours. Kill that digital backbone and there's no ordering, no logistics coordination, no restocking. Over 90% of all UK retail food purchases go through major supermarket chains. You're not popping round to a local farm shop when 68 million people are all simultaneously realising there's no to eat. And of course some clever sod goes, well, older generations survived without all this. Yeah, we did. When population was smaller and systems were designed for manual operation. You can't run NHS for 68 million people on paper filing cabinets. You can't coordinate food distributions for a modern nation with phone calls and clipboards. Systems outgrew analog capacity decades ago. There's no going back. There's only forward. And forward runs through data centres. But what does all this mean for you specifically? For gaming. If data infrastructure collapsed, your gaming life would shrink overnight to something your PS2 would recognise. Every multiplayer game that relies on dedicated servers will be dead on arrival. Call of Duty lobbies, Fortnite matches, Destiny raids, GTA Online, Sea of Thieves, Final Fantasy XIV. Every single one of them goes dark, instantly. They aren't running on magic, they're running on a server rack in data centres across multiple continents. No infrastructure, no matchmaking, no lobbies, no live service, no battle passes, no seasonal content drops, just a title screen and silence. Cloud gaming would be gone entirely. Xbox Cloud Gaming, GeForce Now, PlayStation's streaming service. All of it vanishes because it literally is a data center product. Your gaming running on your hardware, running on a GPU in a rack somewhere in Northern Virginia or Amsterdam and streaming a video feed to your screen. Pull that plug and you've got note. Digital storefronts go down. Can't buy games. Can't verify licenses. Can't download patches. This is what I talked about on last week's podcast when Ages 444 brought up DRM. Every single digital game you think you own is tethered to a verification service sitting in one of these data centers. That license check your console does when you boot up a game. That online activation your PC copy needs first time you install it. They require data center. Even games you swear blind you can play offline had to phone home at least once to prove that you're not a thief. And if that handshake never happened or expires and there's nowhere to call back to, congratulations, you've got a library full of fancy icons that do absolutely fuck all. Consoles are even worse because modern PlayStations and Xbox systems are built from ground up around digital verification. Your disc is basically a permission slip that still needs a server node to work properly. So every game you've bought, every digital purchase, every disc sitting on your shelf gathering dust, all of it relies on an infrastructure that would vanish. You don't own games. You rent access to them through a data center with a heartbeat. And if that heartbeat stops, your entire collection dies. But it goes deeper than just servers going offline. Modern game worlds are enormous because they offload computation to remote infrastructure, AI-driven NPCs, dynamic world events, persistent economies, living worlds that continue existing when you log off. All of that requires back-end processing that your console or PC physically can't do alone. Without that, game design regresses. You're back to static worlds, scripted encounters, wherever your local hardware can brute force on its own, which for a modern open world game designed around cloud infrastructure means it either don't run at all or runs like a dramatically reduced version of itself. Every game studio building for next generation is building with assumption that this infrastructure exists and keeps expanding. If it don't, entire design philosophy of modern gaming collapses. Your hobby already lives and dies on same silicon racks that AI is now competing for. Same memory, same compute, same supply chain. It's all connected. And pretending otherwise is just sticking your head in sand. But here's what trips most people up. If all this infrastructure already exists and society already depends on it, why are these companies building more? Why is every tech giant on planet Earth pouring hundreds of billions into new data centers? Are they just greedy? Is it corporate ego? Nah, it's physics and maths, and neither gives a shit about your feelings. AI training runs require exponential increase in compute power. Not linear, exponential. Generative AI uses more than 1,000 times more compute than previous generation of AI workloads. And as industry shifts towards agentic AI, which builds context and reasoning rather than just pattern matching, that jumps another 30 to 100 times on top. Existing data centers physically can't handle it. Modern AI GPUs generate so much heat and draw so much power that facilities built even 5 years ago weren't designed for them. You can't just slot a rack of H100s into a building designed for traditional server loads. Cooling systems aren't rated for it. Power distribution isn't built for it. Fluid loading can't take it. So they need new purpose-built facilities from ground up. And they need them fast because every competitor is building simultaneously and nobody wants to be last and standing without enough compute to stay relevant. Stargate project alone, which is OpenAI, SoftBank and Oracle's joint venture, is projected to consume up to 40% of global DRAM output. 40% from one project. An HBM memory, which is specialist high bandwidth stuff these AI chips need, requires roughly 4 times more manufacturing capacity per gigabyte than standard DRAM. So for every gigabyte of HBM produced, that's 4 gigabytes of regular memory that don't get met. That's a zero-sum game at wafer level. And right now, AI is winning that game decisively. UK government clearly sees where this is going. They've created AI growth zones with fast-track planning. Data centers can now opt into National Significant Infrastructure Projects regime, meaning planning decisions get made by Secretary of State rather than local councils. They're not doing this because AI is a fad. They're doing it because they've looked at numbers and realised if Britain don't build this capacity domestically, we become dependent on foreign infrastructure for services our own population can't function without. That's not a bubble. That's strategic arms race. And whether you like it or not, your daily life is already a casualty of it. This isn't about whether you personally use ChatGPT or give a toss about large language models. It's about the fact that civilization quietly rebuilt itself on top of silicon and servers while we weren't paying attention, and now there's no off switch. So next time someone tells you AI is a bubble about to burst, ask them what happens to the banking, their healthcare, their food supply, and the precious online games when infrastructure investing in this stuff stops. Watch the face. It's a belter. Like, subscribe and all that bollocks. Drop your comments and questions below. And if you still think it's a bubble, I dare you to go a week without hope that touches a data center. I'll see you next time, you magnificent.